The first thing that we'll be doing is removing the bar pad and the bar clamps. With the bar clamps removed, set the bars forward on the bike. And just let them hang over the front fender. Once you have removed the bars, be sure to remove the bolt off of the front number plate, as this will be attached to the triple tree clamp. At this point, I put a box underneath the tire to keep the tire from falling toward the floor, and we'll be putting a tie-down strap around the rim and up around the neck of the frame. Once the tie-down is around the front of the forks and around the rim, snug it just gently so that it pulls the tire up and keeps the forks from falling down when we loose the triple tree clamp. Now we will remove the bar clamps. Now that the bar mounts are removed, we will loosen the bolt on the steering stem and remove the steering stem cap. Be sure to note where your forks fall into your triple tree clamp, so that if they move, you're able to replace them into the same position. Now that the steering stem cap and pinch bolt have been loosened and removed, we will start with the triple tree clamp at the top on both sides. Be sure that your tie down is tight around the neck of your frame and your tire, so that your forks do not fall when loosening. At this time, you can put on your steering stem frame mount. It may go on easy, but more likely it's going to feel very tight. You may have to use a screwdriver to separate this gap as you push it down onto the frame. There should be 2 tightening bolts depending on the model that you have. Once this is down, you can look for the alignment on the frame. You may need to make markings, but you want this post to be in the middle of the frame. Now that it's mounted and we've tightened the front clamp bolt using some blue Loctite and the 2 pinch bolts on both sides, we will replace the rubber gasket around the steering stem bearing. Place this new dust cover over the rubber gasket that protects your steering stem bearings. Press it down snugly so that it fits all the way around. You may have a slight gap. This is normal. We'll now take our O-ring that came from the top to seal in this small gap up here. Put it back over our steering stem and press it down snugly. At this point, we're going to start reconstructing the triple tree clamp. Now that you have reinstalled the triple tree, make sure that your lines on your forks are to the desired position or where you had them prior. At this point, we're going to add some blue Loctite to these bolts and torque them down to spec. We'll go back and forth from one side to the other until we have all 4 bolts built up to spec. Now that we have tightened the fork clamps down to spec using our torque wrench, we will place the steering stem cap and tighten the pinch bolt. At this point, we will be installing the block for the Scott steering stabilizer submount. The current block that I have will have to mount in the number 1 position. So this will set your bars more forward. Other options would be to buy a new triple clamp made by Scott's, which will leave your bars in their normal position. Be aware that this submount positioning will raise the bars almost 1 inch in height. This can be corrected by buying shorter bars. For KTM specifically, the RM Suzuki style bars We'll lower the bars back about an inch and keep similar type of rake and measurements within the bars. For now, I'll be keeping my stock bars to see how they feel before I spend the extra money to replace them. At this point, with our new bracket installed, we're placing our post. And when we try to measure up our post, we need to make sure it does not rub the bottom of the steering stabilizer. As it mounts, you'll slide it on top of the post. When you look underneath, you want to make sure that it's just sticking up through the guide. This is very tall, so we need to make some adjustments. We need to make ours shorter, so we put it in upright. We'll just take a mallet or a hammer and just gently tap it down. Now that we've drove the post farther down in, we see that we have adequate clearance. Now it's time to mount the stabilizer. The steering stabilizer is now secure onto the mount. Our post is secure with adequate clearance. Now we will be remounting the bars. When I took my KTM bars off, you'll notice these are not exactly centered. They were facing forward to rake the bars farther forward. You can reverse these to gain yourself a little distance back toward your body. They have grooves on both sides, so this will not be an issue to reverse the way the bars are mounted. Now that the bar clamps are mounted, I'm going to go through and check each one of these Allen heads. Just snug them up, finger tight, before placing the bars, as I will not be able to access some of these bolt heads once the bars are replaced. At this point, I'm going to replace the bolt for the front fender plate. And now we'll replace the bars into the clamps and mount the bars. With our steering stabilizer mounted, our bars mounted, everything is complete, except I'm going to do one additional step. The additional step that I recommend after reading many forums is the cable sweep. This cable guide sweep will be placed on top of the steering stabilizer. This will keep your cable from getting hooked up on this side of the steering stabilizer after a sharp left turn turning back right. It will also keep the steering stabilizer from being rubbed by the cable. Even though this is a rubber hosing, this is just a soft aluminum and can wear down either the cable and the steering stabilizer in a matter of time. The cable sweep is not a solid piece. It's a piece of hard plastic. It easily unsnaps and will snap back upon itself. Depending on the way your cable is set up on your bike, you may want to mount this slightly different in different positions and holes. For mine, I'm going to go straight back in the center, so it gives me clearance in both sides of sweeping left to right. Now that the cable sweep is mounted, it will turn both directions. The cable stays in its appropriate position, does not get caught up. When replacing the bar pad, using the KTM style with the rubber top, this bottom piece may not be able to be fit. That would occur underneath the bar and steering stabilizer. So we'll just be replacing just the top piece with 2 zip ties.